Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode 57 of the Stomp the Bus Show. I am your host, Mark Harris, coming at you solo today. Uh, Please like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your podcast app of choice, and let's get started. All right, said last week that the loss to USC was a moral victory of sorts. Can't say the same about this Cal loss. Can't say the same. Although, from a process perspective, there were some encouraging signs. Get into those in a bit. But this was a winnable game for ASU. There's no other way to spin it. You could fairly say that they blew the game. It didn't really feel like they blew the game per se, but if you wanted to argue that, you could make the argument. I mean, this was a winnable game. That's the key thing. And I think ASU was the better team. I know, it's not how it played on the field. Cal obviously won, but ASU was only down 10-7 at half. And if one of those penalties near the goal line doesn't happen, and they happen to so this isn't trying to excuse it. It just, if one of those doesn't happen, ASU most likely win this game. So, and then there's also the pass interference call, which was the right call, towards the end of the game when Jackson just hucked it up for Cal. And that was brutal just in terms of taking time off the clock perspective. Yeah, it's weird because this game, they played well in a lot of aspects, they did. And like we predicted, Cal's not that good. Everyone was surprised by the point spread being 12. Colton and I both picked ASU to lose, although, I mean, ASU came closer to winning than both of us thought they would. So from that sense, it's encouraging, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating. There's no other way to put it because ASU outgained Cal by 100 yards, 104 yards to be specific, 430 yards to 326 yards. So anytime you outgain a team by 100 yards, you should win the game. You should win the game, even in spite of Bourguet's turnover. I'm forgetting the fumble. We had 2 turnovers. But obviously there was the interception late in the game that didn't end up killing the Sun Devils, but was not a good thing, obviously. It says ASU fumbled the ball. Oh, they fumbled at the end of the game, end of the first quarter. Okay, whatever. That's a meaningless turnover. So you're essentially -1 in turnovers. And you move the ball in the second half. Bourguet finishes this game with over 300 yards passing. It's the lovely ESPN. Yeah, 344 yards passing. ASU moved the ball. This was their best game as an offense by far. And I think it's an even better game than they had against USC because USC still sacked them 8 times last week. And the Scatabo play, while it was a good play, there was you can't just repeat him breaking 2 tackles on a run like that. Although, I mean, they did get a long reception from him in this game. He had a good game in this one, led the team with 98 receiving yards. Couldn't do anything on the ground. And they had 29 carries for 68 yards. That's just, not everywhere on this roster is affected equally by injuries, but the offensive line, it's just, they did a decent job with pass pro with Bourguet, but the running game needs to turn around. It just, you can't keep having games where you rush for 2 yards a carry. It's not, as we know, it's not sustainable, and it's going to be hard to just overcome that, And so that's really where the offensive line injuries are just really, that's where you can really see it, and it showed up in the red zone. Again, the reason why ASU had penalties on 4th down twice in the red zone, once was the 12 men, which Dillingham, that was a mistake by Dillingham. There's just no other way to say it. That was a mistake by Dillingham. I'm glad that he made it clear that it was 100% his fault, even if it wasn't, it's probably some assistant coach's fault in reality. But taking the blame there. Good. The false start on Faltanu, like I don't know. I don't really see that well, but it can't happen. You can't have penalties down there on 4th and short, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and the one thing, because like I mentioned, like they played well in a lot of aspects of this game. You have 3 receivers with at least 70 receiving yards. Scatabo 4 for 98, Badger 3 for 75, Stovall 4 for 72. Like, and then Conyers 6 for 30. Like that's a competent passing game. Like getting multiple guys involved, you're getting legitimate yardage. Even 6 catches for Conyers. A lot of those went for first downs. Like there's clear improvement. That's the thing. There's clear improvement with this team, with this offense. The defense, once again, a solid game, save for just a few long convert. I mean, it was early in the 3rd quarter. The tight end for Cal just barely got the 3rd and 20, but that was, people were going up, there was a 4th down they didn't get, and other, obviously the 12 men on the field, those are bad. But giving up the 3rd and 20, man, that led to a touchdown for Cal, like that really, really hurt, especially because they had a chance to bring him down for like a 15-yard gain instead of 20. So that play really, like, that's the one that sticks with me, because it's just, there's no penalties. It's not weird. It's just like, just straight up football. You have to stop this guy from getting 20 yards. They couldn't do it. So that play sticks with me. That's the one I keep coming back to. And, there's a lot of plays like that in this game. And that's what happens when you lose a game where you outgain a team by 100 yards and you still lose by 3. So last drive of the game, Bourget couldn't get the job done. I did like, even though it was an incomplete pass on that final 4th down, I did like that they were at least throwing it to Badger. Okay. Give it, that ball has to go to either Badger, Scatabo, or Conyers. It can't go to anyone else, unless someone's wide open. But if you're like, if that were to Guillory or Deion Sanders and that exact same slant and it didn't happen, it would just be annoying, because it's like, if you're going to go down with your best players not making plays. So, and that's kind of what happened in this game. But yeah, I mean, Cal's quarterback, like 12 of 28 passing 130 yards. He's not good. He's not that good. And he didn't really kill you on the ground. Clearly he's athletic, but he's just not that good at playing quarterback. And so got him down, 2 sacks, but there was clearly pressure around him. Caleb McCullough had a really good game. Came in after Travion Brown went down, and that is a bad injury for this team. Travion Brown is not like a outstanding linebacker, but he's very solid. He's very solid. You see 80, whenever you're watching ASU, you always see 82 around the ball. He's making plays. Maybe he's a little step late sometimes, but like he's a good, solid player, and it's going to hurt ASU losing him. Like that really sucks. And this is from Noah Furtado, who is part of Sun Devil Source. He tweets, today, ASU has elevated linebackers Crew Jackson, walk-on Zach Bowers from the scout team after Dillingham said yesterday that Mike starter Travion Brown will miss the Colorado game. Also, without Will Schaefer due to the transfer portal, the position is down to 5 healthy scholarship players. So that's just, it's not great. Like, it's not great. Losing a guy like Brown really hurts. Thankfully, you have the bye week after this Colorado game. But yeah, a part of me is glad these previous losses have already happened. So it's just kind of there's just a whole different vibe about rooting for this team. Not things just aren't as life or death anymore. It's much more about the big picture, right? That once the Fresno State game happens, it's just like, okay, like just take a deep breath. Like this year, this isn't going to be a year where it's like, oh, we're a a pesky 7-5 team, Now we're hoping to be a pesky 3-9 team. That feels like the ceiling. The ceiling for this year is to be like a 3-9 team that teams don't really want to play. And with that in mind, like this last loss, if ASU had lost this type of game, a game where they outgained the other team by 100 yards, a game where the other team's quarterback sucks, a game where you have two fourth down penalties that basically take off 8 points off the board. And honestly, like, I'm not even going to get mad at them for one, but I'll get mad at them. Like, I'm upset at them for having both the penalties, you know, like I can forgive one down there, but I can't forgive both. Like, that's just, it's just tough. And either way, that's either a 4-point difference or an 8-point difference. So either way, it costs you the game. But just going through all that, like, I'm so glad this loss did not come in a year where like ASU really has good players and like they could actually make it have a real season, or even in a year that's like kind of a standard ASU year where like it's like, let's try to go 8-4 and, you know, beat the teams we can beat and, you know, try to pick off a team that's better than us. And hey, we're 7-5, 8-4. Like, I'm so glad this loss did not come in one of those years. Okay. Because that would have made it so much worse. But the fact that it's already like, okay, like this ASU team's bad, they're injured, there's no bowl game no matter what happens. Being able to see clear improvement is, I'm taking, like, that's the thing that I'll remember from this game more than just like, oh, we could have won the game and instead we'd be what, 2-3 right now instead of 1-4. I just don't think this, like, losing this game, this individual game, as much as it sucks and as winnable as it was, this might be the most winnable game left on the schedule for ASU. The thing that's like softens the blow is the fact that, like, okay, they clearly just have been playing better the last 2 weeks. They look functional, like the offense is looking functional. So this is two straight games, or possibly, I'm figuring out my math here. They had 5 scoring drives the week before, right? Because you had 2 touchdowns from Pine, a rushing touchdown, and then 2 field goals. This game, they had 4 scoring drives, and I think they probably didn't get downs on one of them. Definitely the last play of the game. They just gotten into Cal territory. They had another play where they went, couldn't convert. But I mean, my point is, like, they moved the ball. They were moving the ball up and down the field, particularly in the second half. And that is encouraging. Like, I get it. Like, it sucks that they lost. Like, that going into this game, if ASU would won that game, they'd be 2-3 right now. And you go into the Colorado game at 2-3, you can potentially be 3-3 heading into the bye. Like, that would feel good. I'm not trying to say that this win, like, it doesn't matter that they lost or anything like that. The fact that there is clear offensive improvement and the defense is competent. You know, it's the defense has been competent every game. They've had a few bad plays here and there, like giving up the 3rd and 20 to Caleb Williams and Branch against USC. Like, yeah, that sucks. I'm not trying to defend that play, but overall, Southern Utah, they didn't actually give up 21 points. There was a blocked punt. Oklahoma State, I mean, that was a close game until the very end when ASU's offense couldn't do anything. So that was a good defensive performance. Fresno State, that was a good defensive performance, you know, giving 8 turnovers and you only lose 29-0. You know, I know that sounds like participation trophy-ish, but you watch that game, they did a good job defensively. Against USC, pretty good job defensively. You know, they made Caleb beat him, and they forced a few punts for USC, and they kept it a game. You know, it was competitive throughout basically 7/8 of the game. You know, midway through the 4th quarter, it was a competitive 1-score game for that entire time. Unlike Colorado, where they got down huge and then clawed their way back to make it a 7-point game. So, like, Colorado technically lost by less points than ASU did. But if you're a USC fan watching that game, you felt much more comfortable for a longer period of time in the Colorado game than you did watching ASU play USC. And that doesn't mean, you know, USC was on the road both times, and Colorado has a better quarterback and they have better wide receivers, plural. I do think Badger is better now that Travis Hunter isn't playing, and he won't play against the Sun Devils. I do think that Badger is better than anyone on Colorado right now. That's just me. Just me. I think Badger's awesome, and he had a great play in this game as well to set up a field goal. So, but anyway, my point is like these Colorado and ASU, they're fairly similar teams, and or no, that wasn't my point. I'm sorry. My point was that ASU, the defense played well against USC, played well against Cal for the most part, save for a few plays. And I mean, the last time Cal had the ball in this game, I guess they needed, but stopping Cal on that goal line stand with a defense that had been very injured, like on that drive, they had James and Jonkum in there. Caleb McCullough was in there. Like you had a lot of guys who weren't usually playing in there, and it showed. Like it showed that Cal was able to get all the way down to the 1 yard line, but they stopped him. And that, again, it's another example of the defense is just playing solid. They're like, okay, they're like, really ASU isn't getting beat because of its defense, and it shows that there's the fight is still there. And that is so important. That is so important for the fight, for the effort to be there. Because if ASU just plays like they have been playing for the last 2 weeks, they will win another game this year. They will. I know Colton was concerned about it. I know people have been concerned about it. If they continue to play like this, they will win one more game. I know, not banner, that's not some huge accomplishment, but they just look competent. That's the thing. They look competent this last game. And like I said earlier, there's two ways of looking at it. They look competent and they lose because of some dumb plays, and Cal was able to run the ball decently well, but I don't think that was really the reason why Cal won. I think they did a better job in the red zone. I'll give them that. They definitely did. But after seeing what we saw in the Oklahoma State game in the second half against Southern Utah and against Fresno State, just having a team that's like clearly okay. It looks like ASU, if you just only watch their last two games, you'd be like, oh, this team is like okay. I'll take it. If that's where we're at with all the injuries, our athletic director, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Just announcing that 4 days before the start of the season just totally killed a lot of the energy, probably mess with some players' motivation as well. So that's just not a good thing. All the injuries, like I said, just a very new, green, inexperienced roster to begin with prior to all the injuries. So there's a lot of things that have gone against ASU this year, but the fact that they look more competent. It's not the best way for me to describe it, but you get my point. Like it's clear that things are kind of coming together. It's not perfect. They still don't have a wide margin for error, and that was very clear against Cal. They can play kind of well. They can move up and down the field. They can get 2 touchdowns they scored in this last game, but they cannot make the mistakes that they made and expect to just expect to overcome them all the time, And so it's weird because if this is kind of the team that I thought we were going to get heading into the year, which is why Colton and I picked the team to go 6-6. I think if ASU had played this well against Fresno, or not Fresno, Fresno's good. If ASU had played this well against Oklahoma State in week 2, they would have 2 wins right now. That's the thing. And we didn't expect the Pac-12 to be this good either, because that definitely affects the wins and losses for ASU. So it's a conflicting game. It's a conflicting game because I would feel much worse about this game if ASU lost 21 or like 21-10, and they just could not move the ball at all. That would be so much more discouraging to me than them losing like they did on Saturday. They were arguably the better team. People have said they blew this game. Well, if you were able to blow a game, then that means you were in the lead, you were in control for chunks of it, or you were at least it felt like you were evenly matched. And we haven't been able to say that about ASU really most of this season. Even against USC last week, sure, they made it closer than people thought, but there was never a like, oh, ASU is actually going to win this game. No one really thought that. You would have needed fluky turnovers to get there, really. The offense gave you 28 points. It was much more encouraging than anyone thought. They covered an enormous spread, but no, they didn't have a chance to win. Against Oklahoma State, sure, like if Guillory catches that pass that Rashada throws, post down the middle, there was no other safety help. It could have been a touchdown. If he catches that one pass and everything else goes the same, ASU might win that game, but it wouldn't have been like, oh, they were definitely the better team that won. I mean, I'm not going to go look into stats for that game, but that was a bad second half performance. Like it was just so clunky. And then Fresno State, they're probably the best group of 5 team in the country. So they're just a really good team. It kind of sucks that we scheduled a team like that. I really hope in the future we just schedule these bottom end Mountain West teams, because losing to a Mountain West team, unless they're already ranked heading into the year and everyone expects them to be good, it just scheduling these teams like San Diego State in the past, this would have been a great year to get San Diego State. But Fresno, like, don't schedule Air Force, don't schedule Boise State, schedule New Mexico and Utah State and San Jose State. You can throw Utah State in there. You get my point. Like, I don't need to see these upper tier group of 5 teams. ASU just almost is never in a place as a program where it can just be like, oh, we'll definitely beat, a ranked Fresno State team or a ranked San Diego State team or something. Like, that's just a side tangent for me. Anyway, to wrap it all up, the thing that sticks with me is, one, I'm so glad this game happened in a non-competitive year, because it's the difference between potentially going 3-9 and 2-10, or even if they go 1-11 this year, it's the difference between going 2-10 and 1-11. Like, sure, like from a, I don't know, branding or PR perspective, you want to win every game as possible, but fundamentally, there's no real difference between a 2-10 season and a 1-11 season. So it's all just trying to look a little bit better than you could, which I understand. You want to win as many games as possible, but this would be much worse for if it was the difference between going 9-3 or 10-2, difference between winning the Big 12 and not winning the Big 12. Obviously, we wouldn't be playing Cal, but you get the point. So from that perspective, like, that's why this game isn't like still gnawing on me. The Oklahoma State game gnawed at me for a bit, because we didn't know how this year was going to play out. So, and obviously Oklahoma State was a winnable game. They've been bad this year. And that's why losing to them was more painful. That's the only game Colton and I, other than Southern Utah, actually picked ASU to win. But with Cal, it's like, okay, we know how this season is going to go. So losing this game to maybe a worse team. I mean, like, Cal is not that good. Clearly, we saw, like, they just aren't that good. ASU isn't that good, but Cal isn't that good. And ASU outgained Cal. So the fact that they were just able to look just functional, able to get 430 yards of offense on the road, that's the thing where it's like, okay, like, if you're Dillingham, you can still keep selling all these players on your vision, because it's like, hey, like, we are getting better. We are, as the offense, it's looking more functional. Badger, yeah, maybe we aren't winning. You're still getting 70, 80 yards receiving per game. You're part of the offense. All this, like, that stuff matters. Like, would you rather be would you rather be the Cardinals or the Giants right now in the NFL? Cardinals, they've been losing close games, lost close to the Giants in Washington. They made San Francisco sweat, I guess. I don't know. That wasn't really a close game. And then they beat Dallas. Or you could be the Giants, where, yeah, you sneak by the Cardinals, but you get absolutely blown off the field in all your other games. And so I would like, this is this sounds like a loser argument. It's a weaker, whatever, like losing close in year one of a head coach is a lot better than just getting blown off the field like we saw earlier. And that's when the Fresno State game happened, that like in the back of everyone's head, like, oh my gosh, it could be one of these type of years. And it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. That's the thing. It doesn't look like Stanford is clearly worse than ASU in the Pac-12. And it's unfortunate that the schedule just doesn't, ASU doesn't play Stanford this year. But they look to be clearly worse. They've been blown out more often. They were blown out by USC far more than Colorado or ASU were. Blown out by Oregon. And so I think if you're ASU, you feel like you're kind of, I feel like there's Stanford's at the bottom of the Pac-12. I put Oregon and Washington top 2, then USC number 3, Wazoo number 4, Oregon State 5, Utah 6. Those will probably switch around throughout the year. UCLA is a solid 7 right now. And then you have like Arizona, Colorado, Cal, and ASU all in the 8 through 11 range. I would put Arizona at the top of that right now. And then Colorado 9, Cal 10, ASU 11. But I think they're all like kind of in that below average mix, and maybe Colorado and Arizona go to a bowl game this year, but I don't know how much they're so much better than ASU, And I mean, heading into this Colorado game, most sports markets have ASU as only a 4-point underdog. That's doable. If you're a 4-point underdog at home, people are not going to be surprised if you win. People aren't going to be that surprised. Now, if it was just, Stanford coming in and we were a 4-point underdog or whatever, just like brand X Power 5 team coming in instead of Colorado, that changes the equation in terms of how people react to it. Like if ASU does beat Colorado, that's going to be, is Prime losing control, all this, but ultimately it doesn't even matter in that sense. But ASU here's the thing. I don't think ASU is going to beat Colorado, but this is another winnable game. This is a very winnable game. Colorado's defense is not good. It's not good. It's really has only been good in one game. And that game they played Nebraska, who, as bad as ASU's offense has been this year, I guess the Fresno State game was worse. These last 2 games, ASU's offense is much better than the Nebraska offense that Colorado faced in week 2. That's how I'll say it. But they gave up 42 to TCU, who TCU, they're looking like a very like average-ish Power 5 team. So I saw some people say, oh, TCU, are you discounting that win now because TCU's 3-1? Well, they just lost to West Virginia last week. So let's see what they're like at the end of the year. They'll probably be like a 7-5 team, which is still a good road win. Nebraska's they're not going to be that good. Colorado State, I mean, maybe they can go 6-6 in the Mountain West, but that was the first game where I'm like, oh, okay, like this is Colorado's a bowl team. I don't know, but they're nothing more than just like a bowl team, it looks like. So when we saw against Oregon and USC, like they still have a lot of holes to fill, as does ASU. But again, the fact that ASU is a 4-point underdog, that tells me that Vegas has adjusted its perceptions of ASU. And rightly so. ASU on the field has made people think differently about them because they've been competent the last 2 weeks. And when you just stack competent games on top of each other, you're going to win one of them. That's my thing. You're going to win one of them, and you have a real opportunity to do it this weekend. You have a real opportunity to do it. I know Colorado, Omarion Miller, really good game. Xavier Weaver, Jimmy Horn Jr., those are good wide receivers. And they're going to make some plays on ASU for sure. But Colorado not having Travis Hunter for this game, that's going to be really helpful for ASU. It's going to be really helpful because Trenton Bourguet, he's a good college quarterback. He played mostly pretty well against Cal. I could just totally see Travis Hunter running under a, slightly, I don't want to call it underthrown, but not the fastest, hardest thrown ball in the world because Bourguet just doesn't have that great of an arm. I could see him picking one of those off against us like so easily, but he won't play. So for a college football perspective, it sucks that he's not playing against ASU. Like Travis Hunter is one of the most exciting players in college football. But for an ASU perspective, I mean, it's great. Like look, this is how I am with injuries in football. There's obviously the next man up mentality, but as we saw the Giants last night on Monday Night Football, and even the Seahawks last night on Monday Night Football, like the starters are the starters for a reason. So sure, next man up is a thing, but there's no way the guy who's coming in behind Travis Hunter is going to be as good as Travis Hunter, or otherwise he would have been starting over. So I know I just pissed off any high school football coach who's listening to this or whatever, but like, it's true. Like next man up only means so much. And look, it's part of the reason why ASU has been bad this year. Like, I don't think they would have a 1-4 record right now if not both of our offensive tackles are healthy. If one of them was still healthy, I think if either Isaiah Glass or Emmett Boley is still healthy at this point, they either beat Oklahoma State or they beat Cal. They beat one of those two teams and they're 2-3. So this is the third game of a Oklahoma State, Cal, just a very like mid-level Power 5 team that you're playing. And that's what Colorado is. You know, I know they're better than ASU. I'm not denying that, but I think we've seen that they're just like, they're good, but they're not going to win the Pac-12. Like it's not like, they're just a good team. And for Colorado, that's awesome. Like it's not even a slight against them. It's just like the defensive metrics are what they are. Like the amount of sacks they've given up, that it is what it is. Like you can't argue that or whatever. Like they have holes on this team, and ASU, I don't know if ASU is uniquely built to take advantage of them, because again, ASU has really struggled to run the ball this year, and the pass rush has been pretty good, but not like elite. I think that at least you're just playing a not that good defense, and you're going to need to score, because Shedeur is he'll probably have one play in this game where it's like, man, Shedeur is really good. Like he's gonna show up. So they have a good offensive coordinator. They have good wide receivers. Dylan Edwards is a good running back. They have some good players, but that doesn't mean ASU can't take advantage of them, or at least like attack them on the lines of scrimmage. So this is a winnable game. I'm going to pick ASU to lose 30-27. That's my pick, but that's covering the spread. So they've covered the spread for 3 straight weeks in a row. And if they do it again, then they'll probably win, but it's still a 4-point spread. So they could still lose by 1, 2, or 3, or 4 points. And it would obviously cover, but not be a loss. So that's where I'm at. One thing I did see on the side was Dillingham and Deion complimenting each other before the game. There was no shots taken. I saw that Dillingham, I saw that he said on Monday that he had recruited Shedeur out of high school. Very interesting to me. Very interesting. One, Shedeur was not Shedeur was a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school, but he was not a 5-star Trevor Lawrence type, Spencer Rattler type. Like he was a 4-star. And sometimes I think fans, they just see highly ranked quarterback and they think, oh, he's a 5-star. It's like, no, there's like 3 5-star quarterbacks per class. So he wasn't a 5-star. He was a 4-star. Anyway, he was just your run-of-the-mill 4-star, which is obviously a good player, but not Trevor Lawrence level. The fact that Dillingham was so in on him is like, oh, that's good. Like this guy can identify quarterback talent early on. I like that he has the relationship with him. Not specifically because it's Shedeur, it's because, like, again, Dillingham can build relationships with young quarterbacks. And the fact that Deion, I mean, Deion like really respected him. You can tell in the comments that he made this week, there was a real respect for Dillingham. And when you have Lincoln Riley, who obviously is a very successful coach, Dillingham, who's been successful so far, but like he clearly knows what he's doing in terms of college football, who to hire. You know, maybe he's not the best game manager right now or whatever, but we could say that about a bunch of coaches. So I like, it's interesting that the mutual admiration, and from Dillingham, it was just like, oh yeah, he's doing a good job. Like their team's playing better, more energized. I'm so glad there's no sunglass shades remarks or Matt Rule was saying dumb stuff before their game. Dan Lanning did to an extent. It's a little easier to do when you're Dan Lanning and you have a team that's just way better. But I do like that Dillingham, we don't need that added smoke. We don't, like, just play the game and whoever wins wins. But there's no, oh, we're gonna show them who's boss. Like, no, like, just maybe some fans on social media will be like that, but like, just, we know what we are. We're not that good. We're not like completely terrible, but we're still not that good. And let's just play the game, see what happens. This is a winnable game, but I still think ASU is going to lose. I think they're going to lose 30-27. I think this could be another solid game for the offense, and I think it'd be another solid-ish game for the defense. But this is probably the second best offense they're playing all season. Definitely better than Oklahoma State, better than Cal. Probably better than Fresno State. I don't know though. It's second or third best offense. I'm going to go second best offense, but Fresno State's offense is not bad. And USC is better than Colorado's, but yeah. So, one thing, ASU wins the Cal game if it gets better punting. It just does. And I'm not going to name any names about punters, but I saw a lot of reports today that there were a lot of walk-ons taking kicks at practice, and I'm glad that there are, because look, our starting punter just wasn't good enough. There were too many 30-yard punts, 35-yard punts. And the guy from Cal was booming it down to the 10, 15-yard line. Like, in a game like that, like, that matters. Field position matters in that type of game where the offense, especially early on, was just really struggling. And, if ASU had better field position on some of those second half drives, the Badger big play, instead of being a 52-yard play that gets you from the 30 to the 20, it's a touchdown. Instead of Cam Scadabo's big play being a play that takes you into the red zone, just takes you into the end zone because you already have better field position. So it's weird because, like, punting, it's a weird part of the game, but it made a big difference against Cal. It really did. And ASU, like, we've seen pretty good punters over the last 10 years. I mean, Michael Turk, Shaplichky last year, Matt Hack, probably the best of all of those. I think he's still in the NFL. I don't know if he's still in the NFL, but he was in the NFL for a bit. We've had good punters, and we're getting a good punter next year in Canyon Floyd. It just needs to be better. This is something you can actually find walk-ons to do. And so I'm glad that they're doing that. Let's hope that we get a few good bounces against Colorado. I don't know. This is another thing. I'll say this. If you're going to have a bad punter, have it in a year that doesn't matter. I will say that. So that's kind of how I'm wrapping up. I would be much more upset about this loss if it came in a year that mattered and it was the difference between you going 8-4 or 9-3. And I have that same feeling about the punter, because that would be really frustrating. That would be really, really as frustrated as you are now about the punting for ASU. Imagine it being on a team that's like actually kind of good, that then it would just feel so much worse. So, first year, and you can't plug every hole in the transfer portal, or you can't plug every hole well with the transfer portal, at least. So that's where we're at. I do think ASU is going to lose 30-27 to Colorado, but it will be at worst, it'll just be another game of showing competence and improvement. So I like what I'm seeing on that front. Would love, this would be a great opportunity to win. It is a winnable game. I don't think we're going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did. All right. Thank you for watching. Go Diamondbacks. Pretty sure they're playing right now. I do not know what the score is, but go Diamondbacks. And again, please rate and review on YouTube, like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your podcast app of choice. And as always, go Devils.